The controversy around Republican Senate candidate Roy Moore in Alabama is growing. Women have come forward with charges of sexual abuse by Moore. He denies their claims and says he's not stepping down from the race. Joining us now with some insights on this story is Matt Staver, who is the chairman of the Liberty Council and has known Moore for more than 2 decades. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
You've gotten to know Judge Moore both on a professional and a personal level. What can you tell our viewers about the man that you know?
Well, the man that I've known for about 25 years is nothing like the allegations that we have read about or heard about 40 years ago. In fact, I've never seen him but show respect for women. He's always shown respect for every age of woman. I've seen him in many different circumstances, surrounded by women of all ages, and he's never had roaming eyes or roaming hands. He's always shown respect. And there are women who have known him for 30, 40, even 50 years and grew up with him, were teenagers at the same time that these allegations occurred in the 70s and early 80s, and they never heard of these kinds of allegations. So, you know, you have to look at this individual, Roy Moore. He's been in elected office for nearly 40 years, high-profile cases for 4 decades, and not once did anyone ever bring any such allegation to the media or to anyone else during any of those 4 decades until 4 weeks before this important upcoming election. So I look at a person who is one who has been married for 32, nearly 33 years, who is a loving father, a loving husband, who has a wonderful relationship with his wife, Kayla, who's with him at almost every location and event that he appears. And that's a man of high integrity, not a man who would be insulting or abusing women at any age.
Matt, there are many allegations of sexual misconduct against Judge Moore. Do you feel that the media is giving equal billing to both his accusers and to Judge Moore?
I don't think they're giving equal billing to certainly Judge Roy Moore. In fact, look at the one that recently came out, and that is Beverly Young Nelson. She says that this allegation occurred behind a restaurant, but what she doesn't say is that 22 years later, she was before then Judge Roy Moore in 1999 in a divorce case with her then husband, Mr. Harris. And if, in fact, she was sexually abused 20 years earlier, you would have no doubt that she would raise that before the judge or certainly to her lawyer to have him recused from the case. If he's deciding your divorce case and he's the one who sexually abused you, you would say something at least to your lawyer and ask him to be removed, but not a single word. In fact, when I saw the so-called signature of Roy Moore in her yearbook, I questioned that this was not even accurate, because no one would put DA after their name, not a district attorney and certainly not an assistant district attorney. As one who knows rank and the importance of rank and an attorney, you would never put that after your name. Well, where did that come from? We now know that it was a stamped signature from 1999, the same divorce decree involving Beverly Young Nelson. And the D period, A period does not stand for district attorney. It stands for his assistant, who he had in the 1990s. When she would stamp his name to orders, she put her initials, D period, A period, for Delbra Adams. That's where it came from. So this really shows some suspicion on that issue. And also, even her stepson has come out and categorically denied that this ever happened and said that his stepmother never said anything about the situation. So on the one hand, you've got these allegations 4 weeks out from the election, never before heard of in 40 years. And on the other hand, you have a man that I've known for 25 years who has the utmost respect and integrity to women and to all people. And I think you have to weigh that in the balance. For me, this is not the Judge Roy that I or other people know or have known for 25, 30, 40, 50 years.
As a man of faith and father and grandfather, what do you say to people who think Christians are not willing to deal with issues of sexual misconduct?
Well, I think Christians, and certainly I am, wanting to deal with sexual misconduct. I think some of these issues that are being reported around the country are good to ultimately put an end, hopefully, to some of the abuse and harassment that have been leveled towards women. It's despicable. No one is in support of that. On the other hand, when you look at this specific case, to come to a rushed decision, I think it does a disservice to the other cases that are serious and ongoing and persistent in these other, most of the situations that we see out there, like Harvey Weinstein and others. I think when you look at this case here, you've got to look at all the facts, you've got to look at the allegations, and you've got to look at a person and particularly a pattern. There's been no allegation of any impropriety of any sort for 4 decades. That has to say something. It certainly speaks volumes. When you have that up against recent allegations on the eve of a political election, you have to pause and you have to not rush to judgment. We need to certainly take accusers seriously. We need to stop sexual harassment and abuse. But on the other hand, we cannot convict in the court of public opinion or otherwise innocent individuals who don't have a pattern, and certainly no recent pattern, of any kind of sexual impropriety, especially when that person has been known for decades of individuals close to him who've never heard or never seen anything out of the ordinary or anything that's inappropriate. And that's the Roy Moore that I know.
Earlier today, several pastors joined in support of Judge Moore. What would you say to Christians who are on either side of this political controversy?
Well, I think we can't convict someone before the evidence. I think we have to put this into context of, the political election cycle, and you have to ask yourself the question, why does it come up now when it hasn't come up in 40 years, and why are there so many suspicions about even some of the allegations that have come forth? Weighing that against a person who has put his life on the line, who's a devoted husband and father and grandfather, I think you have to put that into the perspective as well. And I think as Christians, you cannot come to such quick knee-jerk reaction to ultimately destroy a man's reputation when there's been no allegation or hint of such impropriety for 40 years or 4 decades or more. I think we need to be sympathetic, and certainly we need to be serious about those who have been sexually harassed and abused. That is despicable, frankly, no question about it. We need to reach out with compassion and we need to listen. But on the other hand, we also need to be careful not to wrongly accuse or convict or come to wrong, premature conclusions about an individual. Because as we know, there are false allegations that are out there as well. And we need to ferret out between the truth and falsehood.
All right, Matt Staver, thanks for your insights today, sir.
Thank you. My pleasure.